Now it has to be said, it's not very often you go away and play a fierce rival, emerge 4-1 winners, and still feel like you did not play well in the match. Chelsea traveled a 3-point lane. Am I allowed to say that again? 3-point lane? Chelsea traveled a 3-point lane and emerged 4-1 winners. Let's get into it.
And blue is the colour.
What is your Chelsea match review, but more specifically a tactical synopsis of Chelsea's performance against Tottenham Hotspur. But before I get into all that, you guys already know we're trying to grow this channel. We need your help, and the only way you can do that is by hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, hit the bell notification button to keep up the latest and the newest. It will help me, it will help my sponsors who go by the name of Major League Socks. And fellas, if you ever want to walk in the footsteps of greatness, you know what to do. Just hit them up. The link will be in the description. Well, we got there in the end. I guess that's something we can hang our hat on. Chelsea finally put some goals past this Tottenham team that were playing a style that was way too cavalier for the skill that was on the pitch. And we got there in the end, but for me, I love to evaluate the performance. Wins and losses are very important, but at the same time, I want to see Chelsea show that they have an understanding of what's happening on the pitch. And we just didn't do enough of that today. We're going to be speaking on specifically, obviously, Tottenham's high line. That was a major, major talking point, on both sides of the pitch, whether it be Tottenham or Chelsea. So we're going to be looking at that extensively. We're going to be looking at some of the individual performances and just get right into it because there wasn't really much to talk about. Obviously, there were a lot of decisions that went Chelsea's way with the penalties and whatnot, but rightfully so. A lot of them were just rightfully so. So we're not going to really be focusing on the refereeing decisions in this game. We're just going to be looking at the 1 and 2 talking points that were pretty much manifesting throughout the entire match. Now it's important to note right from the opening kick, I thought that Tottenham had the right balance between intensity and physicality, and where Chelsea were just second best to everything within that first 15-20 minutes, and they were rewarded with a goal, obviously a deflection off of Colwill that went into the net, and Tottenham were up 1-0. And once again, it was very, very disheartening to see once again Chelsea come into a big match against a fierce rival and not match the intensity right from the opening kickoff. It seems like we always need to go down before we start seeing Chelsea go through the gears and get their football happening. But to say that after what I saw in the first half in particular, it seems a little bit disingenuous because Chelsea never really got into the game. Let's be honest, a lot of what we saw was just the decisions that went our way. I mean, there was a spell after Tottenham scored where Chelsea were on the front foot and were creating opportunities. Probably should have scored 1 or 2 goals as well. Obviously, Caicedo's goal was chalked for offside. Raheem Sterling had the handball, and we had opportunities to score goals, we just didn't take them really until we got the penalty and the red card. And obviously those decisions changed the match. But the thing that was most disheartening was when Chelsea were up a man and were in possession of the football for pretty much the entirety of the match. They still failed to show any sort of cohesion and understanding on the pitch to create opportunities to score goals. And that to me is just an indictable offense to not only the manager but the playing staff as well. I mean, how is it that we're already 10, 11 weeks into the season and we still don't have some sort of synergy, some sort of understanding, some sort of built-in DNA between the players that we've been playing? How do we not know how to time runs? How are we over-hitting passes that play us into space and also executing when we're 3v2, for instance? It's just these are the types of things that hold Chelsea back consistently. It's not the effort that we play with defensively that usually leads to the demise of this team. It's the effort in the final third and the understanding in the final third that usually lead to Chelsea's undoing. And we're fortunate today. We just got so many opportunities. I mean, Postecoglou just basically exploited Chelsea's weaknesses right before everyone. We're up 2 men and we still do not have the sort of understanding, the sort of verve, the sort of cohesion on the pitch that leads to creating goal scoring opportunity after goal scoring opportunity. And even when we do get them, we're still missing them. So, it was just an embarrassing performance despite us winning 4-1, despite us taking advantage of the game in the very latter stages of it. But let's not forget, minutes before Jackson iced the game, and make it 3-1, Tottenham Spurs, I thought Son was right in on goal. I thought he was going to score. I thought for sure he was going to score then. That would probably have been the rightful result because Chelsea just did not do enough in the second half to take the opportunities that were presented to them. I mean, the entire second half, I went online and I was everyone was yeah, so Chelsea need to bring on Mudryk and exploit the spaces in behind and just blast past them. I was there's no way Tottenham's going to come out in the second half and play anywhere near as cavalier as they were in the first half. They were going to drop that line and just like soak up pressure and try and play for a point, and that would have been, you know, the rightful result, you know, but they were just as cavalier, if not more, in the second half, even when they lost a second man. And, you know, when you see that as a Chelsea supporter, you're just like, there's blood in the water right now. We just got to take these opportunities. We got to take the game to these guys. And, you know, everything about that game just exposed how poor we are offensively. Everything about that game. You know, we had nobody that was making the right decisions when we were in the crucial areas. We had nobody was taking the opportunities. Nobody was timing the runs correctly. There's no understanding synergy between the ball deliverer and the receiver. You know, guys are running offside. The amount of times that I saw Chelsea, you know, play on the shoulders of the defenders and like miss time runs, or like the passer, the midfielders just not playing the ball into space at the right time, you know, and the amount of times that we got into those areas and, you know, just overhit passes was just mind-numbing. It was just mind-numbing. And, you know, I'm very grateful to the fact that we were able to come away and win 4-1 in this game, but had that game gone anywhere differently, like, I'm certain there would have been an inquiry, like a real inquisition between the manager, the players, the Terraces, and media as well, because there's no way Chelsea should be looking as poor as they've done at this point in time of the season when they have a two-man advantage against a bitter rival. It's just unspeakable. So thankfully, you know, Jackson was able to get those 2 goals, his hat trick on the day, and, you know, make the game look comfortable. But at the end, but ultimately that game exposed a lot of weaknesses that we have in our build-up phase, and also when just the composure in the final third, like the ability to take opportunities when they're right on a platter for you. We just don't take enough of those. I really have to speak on the other side of the pitch though, on the opposite end, and this Postecoglou guy, who does he think he is though, really? Postecoglou played with fire the entire match and eventually got burned at the end. Obviously the spaces that these defenders had to occupy to try and snuff out Chelsea attacking moves was just immense. I'm talking like you can drive a truck through some of these spaces, and, you know, as the game wore on and they got more fatigued because, again, they were chasing after the game as well, you know, those spaces just became so great. And, you know, you can say that there's a bravery that comes with playing that way as a manager at home against a fierce rival, but there's also a naivety there too as well. I mean, Chelsea aren't the best in front of goal, but if you give them 8, 9, 10 opportunities to play it in behind and, you know, get 1v1 with the keeper, they're gonna take a couple of them. You know, as poor as we are in front of goal, there's gonna be opportunities where Chelsea are going to score those goals. That's just professional football in a nutshell. So I don't know what Postecoglou saw in that game that made him feel like he doesn't have to adjust his tactics, at least for this one game. It's one thing that you're saying you're building a philosophy and you want an ideation on the pitch, but when you see there's another week to work on your philosophy again. This is about just shoring up your back line and making sure that Chelsea, who struggle to break down low blocks anyways, doesn't matter what the numerical advantage is, Chelsea struggle to break down low blocks. He needs to recognize that. He needs to analyze the game differently and put his team in a position to at least get a point. And I don't think that he did a good job of that today. And to Chelsea's credit, we took advantage of it late, as, you know, as should have been the case much earlier in the game. I mean, Vicario did a good job doing the sweeper-keeper thing and, you know, coming in and clearing a few of the opportunities, but that was only because the way to pass was never correct. Every time Chelsea got into those positions where all they have to do is dink an 8-10 yard pass in and allow for Raheem Sterling, allow for Jackson, allow for Mudryk to run on it. And I couldn't understand the substitution. Granted, I didn't think that Enzo had a great game, but I couldn't understand the substitution, bringing him off for Mudryk, because he's the guy that is capable of making that pass more often than not. That was basically where the game was going to be won and lost. It's Chelsea's ability to make that little dinking pass over the top of the defense and allow for one of our, you know, our quicker attackers to get on the ball, go 1v1 with the keeper. You know, it just made no sense to me to take Enzo off at that point in time, despite him having a poor game. And that speaks to, again, Pochettino. I'm still trying to figure out what this guy is seeing when he makes the substitutions that he makes. What is the thought process behind bringing on, you know, Mudryk for, you know, Enzo, and then bringing on, Ugachukwu for Sterling, I believe? Yeah. I just don't understand what Pochettino is seeing in the game. What is he analyzing and to make the decisions that he makes when he's making these substitutions? It's just not making any sense to me. If there was anyone that we needed to see pierce the back of the net 3 times against Tottenham away, regardless, just to build the confidence, it was Nico Jackson. And I'm so glad that he was able to find the mark in this game in particular, because obviously just really struggling for confidence right now. You know, his movement hasn't been great. You know, his timing of runs have not been great. He's obviously still trying to guess where he needs to be on the pitch. You know, you have our midfielders telling him where he needs to make his runs and stuff like that. He just looks completely lost out there. So, you know, it was very, very good to see him just hit the back of the net. Sometimes you just need to hit the back of the net just to get that confidence, just to get that thrust of energy to take you into the next game. I mean, after that Brentford game where he was just like dejected after he was subbed off, you know, he needed this performance. He needed to have the ball hit the back of the net. So I'm glad to see that happened for him. But there's still a lot of holes in his game. And, you know, despite scoring a hat trick, I still don't feel like feels confident in his ability to play in this league right now. It just, even though he scored the 3 goals, you still felt like the entire match he was just guessing, he was on the back heel, he was mistiming runs and whatnot. So there's still a lot to work on there, but this is at least a building block. You can't say, like, he scored a hat trick in the Premier League. You know, if he can't draw confidence from that, we got problems. But I do think I'm gonna wrap it up there. Chelsea unconvincingly beat Tottenham Hotspur at 3-point lane 4-1. How often do you get to say that a team wins unconvincingly when they win 4-1? Only Chelsea. Only Chelsea can do this. And, you know, there's still a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do on the training pitch, man. Like, how do we not have that understanding? Like, when Enzo has his eyes on you, you know when to make that run. You know, when we're playing on the shoulder defenders, how do we not bend our runs to bend it, to get in behind and make sure that we're not offside? Like, these are just like fundamentals to playing on the shoulder that we still do not possess. How many times do we get 1v1 with the keeper and still miss the opportunities, man? So there's a lot to work on. But fortunate to see that Jackson got the hat trick. Fortunate to see that Chelsea escaped with 3 points, you know? It's just a day in the life of a Chelsea fan, you know? But, you know, we move. You know, we go into the next game now. Very, very tough opponent. Obviously, Man City. But when I look at it now, when I look at the schedule, when I look at what Chelsea have done this season, you know, we played Liverpool, we probably should have won. We played Arsenal, we probably should have won. You know, we played Tottenham and we won. And now we got like Man City, we got Manchester United. These are games that we seem to be playing well in. It's the ones that are against like the Nottingham Forests and the Brentfords and whatnot that I feel like Chelsea still do not feel. They just don't have the ability to play teams that want to play with a low block. And, you know, as witnessed today, we clearly still have a lot to work to do when we're playing with teams that play with a high line as well, because there were so many opportunities today that I felt that Chelsea would have just killed the game. It would have been 6-7, 8-1 easy. And, you know, here we are, 4-1. Not a bad result, but at the same time, not exactly convincing. So we go into the next game against Man City, the toughest opponent in the league as far as I'm concerned. And I feel confident. I still feel like we have the ability to beat them, but we just have to be on our A game. We need more than 2 and 3 players to play at their optimum level in order to beat a team like City. And the only way to do that is to have a team performance, to have a team philosophy, to have Mauricio Pochettino put together a game plan that is conducive to, you know, snuffing out what City like to do well. Obviously play down the channels, obviously service, you know, Haaland, who still hasn't scored against Chelsea. And, you know, just really be tight and then try and hit them on the break. That's what we do well. That's where we should be focusing our game more often than not. But until then, keep the blue flag flying high and up the Chelsea. Peace.